Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving straight into a massive, high-stakes transformation happening in global warfare right now. We are talking about a rapid shift away from the traditional, human-operated weapons you're used to seeing toward incredibly advanced, autonomous, deep-tech machines. The conventional battlefield is disappearing fast, and what's replacing it looks like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
To see just how fast this is moving, look no further than the summer of 2024. Just outside the Stade de France during the Paris Olympics, a suspicious drone pops up. But instead of deploying standard countermeasures, it's neutralized in seconds by a first-of-its-kind laser weapon designed by the French company CLS. It is a completely cinematic, real-world laser interception that perfectly illustrates how this sudden reality of modern defense is literally dropping right into our civilian lives. It's a world first that proves the sci-fi future is already here. To wrap our heads around this rapid escalation, here's our path for today. 1. The ground reality. 2. The invisible battlefield. 3. The robotic front lines. 4. AI and swarm attacks. And finally, 5. Stealth, space, and quantum. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The ground reality and the immediate, deadly impact of drones.
We're starting with the incredibly gritty reality on the ground in Ukraine. Picture soldiers hiding out in concrete basements, rigging these cheap, off-the-shelf drones with tape, wood, and 10-kilo anti-tank mines. They've actually nicknamed these modified heavy lifters Baba Yaga, after a mythical witch. And honestly, it fits. Just think about this staggering number, 80%. Drones are now responsible for a massive 80% of human and material losses on the Russian side. They have fundamentally, completely shifted how battles are fought and won.
Now here is the truly wild part. The sheer technological asymmetry. A conventional Leopard or Abrams tank, that costs tens of millions of euros. Plus, conventional weapons often need up to 5 adjustment shots just to hit a target. Contrast that with a drone. It costs maybe 500 euros, and it is perfectly precise on the very first hit. I mean, think about that. A multi-million-dollar piece of heavy armor is now highly vulnerable to a cheap, tape and wood drone that gets it right on the first try.
Driven by this brutal efficiency, production has totally gone into overdrive. In 2024 alone, Ukraine pumped out 1.5 million drones. And the forecasts are even more incredible. We're looking at a predicted 4.5 million rolling out of their factories by 2025. This isn't just a tactic anymore. It's a full-blown industrial-scale arms race centered entirely around cheap, lethal robotics.
Section 2. The invisible battlefield. The shadow war of frequencies and jamming.
But getting a drone into the air, that's really only half the battle. We need to talk about the invisible shadow war of frequencies happening all around these machines. Engineers have basically replaced soldiers in this space, creating what's called an electronic warfare, or EW bubble. Armies are deploying these jamming systems on backpacks, on rifles, and on modified vehicles to create an invisible electromagnetic protection zone. It's a dome that disrupts video signals, completely hacks GPS, and forces incoming kamikaze drones to fly blind and miss their targets entirely. So it turns into this incredibly intense, electronic cat-and-mouse game right up in the sky. Step 1, the drone approaches its target. Step 2, the EW bubble jams the drone's camera and GPS. But then, Step 3, the drone climbs higher to escape the interference, regains its signal, and tries to lock back on. Or, increasingly, it just uses artificial intelligence to bypass the jamming entirely and execute the strike. It is a continuous, absolute life-or-death battle of software.
Because these jammers are so absolutely crucial for survival, the fear of espionage in this electronic arms race is through the roof. Major Ukrainian jammer factories like Onwave have to operate in total secrecy near Kiev. To avoid being targeted by missile strikes, they literally cover their factory windows in paper, and employees are told to tell people they manufacture decorative objects. The paranoia is incredibly real. They won't even buy components directly from China because they fear the exact specifications will be handed straight to their adversaries the very next day.
Section 3. The robotic front lines. Automating war on sea and land.
As these technologies prove just how lethal they are in the air, the battlefield is rapidly becoming fully automated everywhere else, taking humans off the front lines entirely. This asymmetric warfare continues right on the water. Relatively cheap Ukrainian naval drones like the Magura V5 and the Sea Baby have absolutely decimated billion-dollar fleets. These things carry up to 850 kilograms of explosives, and they've already sunk 6 major Russian vessels. It's causing billions in damage. And this massive disruption is pushing navies worldwide to adapt fast. France's naval group, for instance, is now developing entirely unmanned 10-ton stealth combat submarines to act as underwater deterrents. And on land, we're seeing the exact same leaps. Take the Estonian-made Themis. It's a remote-controlled transport and combat robot that is hugely requested by the front lines. It is so highly coveted, in fact, that Russia placed a massive 2 million ruble bounty just to capture one intact. 2 million rubles just to get their hands on a single robot.
But here's the really fascinating part. They don't actually care about the metal or the tracks or the hardware. The ultimate prize is the software, the artificial intelligence brain inside the machine. That AI is what allows the vehicle to learn, target, and operate completely on its own. Those autonomous functions represent the real game-changing leap forward in modern weaponry.
Section 4. AI and swarm attacks, taking autonomous control of the skies.
And this brings us to the next massive escalation: AI systems that operate independently and in perfectly coordinated, massive groups. This is what's known as a saturation attack. In one instance, Ukraine covertly infiltrated container trucks near Russian air bases, hiding dozens of small kamikaze drones up in the false ceilings. The roofs opened, the drones launched, and they used AI coordination to execute the first-ever swarm attack. They destroyed Russian bombers and caused tens of billions in damage. Just incredible.
Now, from a psychological standpoint, these swarms are just terrifying. Imagine looking at a defense radar. In a swarm of 100 incoming drones, maybe only 3 or 4 actually carry explosives. The other 97, they're pure decoys. This completely overloads human processing and defense radars. You have no idea which ones are dangerous, which puts human defenders into a state of absolute psychological panic. Meanwhile, the machines, they experience zero fatigue, zero panic, zero stress. They just calmly and ruthlessly share the tasks. If one gets shot down, the others immediately reassign its mission among themselves without missing a beat.
So, to maintain supremacy against these swarms, global superpowers are currently racing in secret to develop high-speed stealth fighters. But these won't act alone. They'll act as motherships for autonomous drone wingmen. China is reportedly developing the Chengdu J-36, expected to fly at 3,000 kilometers an hour. The United States announced the F-47, designed explicitly to fly alongside a fleet of drones. And France is testing the Dassault Neuron, which is a revolutionary stealth combat drone the exact size of a fighter jet, engineered to accompany traditional piloted planes.
But, supremacy isn't just about the skies anymore. It extends way upward into space. Here's a question. If you were being tracked by enemy forces from space, how do you become invisible again? Well, the stark answer is, you have to destroy the satellite that's tracking you. And this is a capability being realized right now. We're already seeing tests of anti-satellite missiles and experimental combat space shuttles. It's literally turning orbit into the next active theater of operations.
Section 5. The quantum leap, the absolute zero future of detection.
Finally, let's move to the most advanced molecular theater of all, where the world's top scientific laboratories are quietly reinventing warfare from the ground up. Inside research labs, like those at Thales, scientists are actually cooling atoms down to absolute zero, minus 273 degrees Celsius. At this extreme temperature, they're creating quantum sensors that can measure acceleration, rotation, and time with a 1,000-fold increase in precision over the tech we use today.
The true magic here, though, is miniaturization. Right now, to pick up strategic communications over vast distances, antennas require several hundred meters of physical space. It's massive, but with quantum technology, that exact same capability is reduced to an antenna just 10 centimeters long. It shrinks these massive arrays down to the size of a ruler, giving tiny machines phenomenal, unprecedented new capabilities.
But the most disruptive aspect of quantum technology is what it does to the enemy. Quantum sensors will literally have the power to detect the currently undetectable. Ultimately, this means the very concept of stealth may disappear entirely. Those massive, invisible nuclear submarines deep in the ocean or the highly classified stealth aircraft high up in the sky, they'll be laid completely bare. Quantum technology will allow armies to clearly see what is currently completely invisible, and that is going to change the strategic balance of power forever.
And that brings us to the edge of tomorrow's battlefield. As we witness this rapid, unprecedented shift from human soldiers and conventional weapons over to thinking machines, AI swarms, and absolute zero quantum sensors, we have to pause and ask ourselves this final, defining question. When our technology strips away all our hiding places, where exactly does human control end and the machines take over? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.